Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode is going to be a fun one. We have got the ever amazing Shane Woods out of Deer Park, Texas with the Fine Finish Institute. What is going on, Mr. Shane?
Zach, I am shouting the victory. It's a beautiful day here. Glad to be a part.
Oh man, I'm glad to get you on. It's been a while. I hadn't seen you in quite some time since I got out of the finishing side, and we got to meet up at IWF and got to hang out a little bit. And I was like, man, we got to get you on the podcast.
Well, you've been doing some great things, man. Been doing some good things.
I appreciate it. I've been having a lot of fun doing it too. It's been the different people that you meet doing this and the stories that you hear are just crazy. They're all over the place. I mean, made a lot of connections, helped a lot of people connect. It's been a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
But let's kick it off. I mean, let's hear the origin story. A lot of people know you out there. You've been around for a while. I know you were up in St. Louis. That's kind of where you and I got to know each other when you were up in Missouri. But for those in the community that are new, that aren't that familiar with you, let's share your story with us.
Well, I grew up southeast Houston in a real industrial part of Texas. And, you know, everybody, neighbors were rebuilding engines, you know, uncles were painting cars, you know, cousins were on a crew of, you know, drywallers. So, I mean, it was just a whole bunch of just, you know, vocational stuff. And I really had some great mentors. My real dad and then my stepdad both were contractors and craftsmen. And my mom is an artist. So we kind of always were doing art and building intertwined together. So then when I had a chance to start auto paint and body in high school, I jumped on that. And I had already painted one car with my dad before then. So, you know, Zach, I didn't need any of the bookwork stuff. I didn't need any of the classroom time. I just needed, you know, get out of my way and give me some primer and let's go. And thankfully, those 2 years, Mr. Humphrey was able to rein me in and kind of put a little bit more of an importance on a foundational, part of the craft. And so I worked, auto paint and body during school. You know, I could go the first part of the day and then hit a couple classes and then had a work program where I was at a body shop after school. And so I'd work at a body shop during the week and I'd ride bulls professionally on the weekend. And so it was just we were just going nuts. And about 18 years old, I ended up the Lord grabbed a hold of me and an amazing story of how he revealed himself to me. And as I relocated to a northern part of Houston to be a part of my new church family, I got in with some of those old school union painters. You got whites, a 5-in-1, and a duster brush, or you're not clocking in. And the first 6 months, you're puttying holes and dusting stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I was a painter, but I got, 18, about 6 months there that I just got put at the bottom of the totem pole, being the painter I was, and just a real quick recap back to when I began working for a body shop. Now, of course, remember, Shane Woods is the best professional painter as a junior in high school, right? I mean, in my mind, I was the greatest, right? I mean, I would sit in front of my mirror and pull my respirator off and yell, "It's painted," in the mirror. Just that, I love painting stuff. It was amazing. And so Donnie's Paint and Body right down the street, he hired me. He said, "So you want to be a painter?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Okay, I'll give you a job, but first I need you to wash my truck." I think, okay, I'll knock this out and then I'll get in the paint booth. And I went out there to wash his truck. I said, "Okay, I'm done. he walked there and just nitpicked every little thing. And it was like a whole nother level of focus came in, and he kept coming back out and showing me different things. And I didn't realize it at the time, but he was showing me some of the most important parts of refinishing and finishing, that I just think a lot of these nowadays YouTube painters, hey, I'm more power to you, but they go to YouTube and they learn how to, load a spray rig or adjust the gun, but there's no real job etiquette there. There's no real foundation of how to, set yourself up for success, and importance on, tool organization. And I mean, you can always just tell when you're around a group of guys that know what they're doing. I mean, from the front to the back, they're all squared away, and they can do high level of finishing because they're not tripping over each other with paint running down their elbows, and so it all just became important to me. It all became a wonderful foundation. We started Commercial Paint. I began my own, contracting business, at 19 or 20. And by the time I was 23, 24, I was doing every Texaco that was being built in the state of Texas. So we were, 12, 15 guys, 3, 4 trucks, pallets of block filler, that kind of thing, and just scaled it, started really hammering it. Well, about that time, my spiritual life started suffering because I just went all in and didn't have a really good balance of work life, and began to, almost schedule jobs so that I didn't have to check in and show up to church, so to speak, back then. And then before long, you just find yourself in a place where you've compromised, a few of your standards or a few of the things that you had walked away from. And then you're dealing with conviction, and it's a hard thing. So it just kind of snowballed. And before long, I was looking for relief psychologically. And I went to the doctor and asked him for something to kind of help with the stress. And I really never enjoyed drinking, but in my, in the church, it was kind of, the doctor gave it to you, it was all right, kind of thing. And so he went and he wrote me a prescription for Xanax. And by the time I finished that 30, Zach, I was a monster, man. I couldn't get enough. Just I wanted to be sedated all the time. And then, my marriage started suffering, and I had 2 children, and that started suffering. And before long, it came to a point to where I had become powerless, and my life had become unmanageable. And although I was a great finisher, it definitely bailed me out of a lot of, dead end problems in my life, because I could create, a finish. I could go to any city. I could go to Telluride, Colorado, and I'd be making $30 an hour the next day because I had the craft, and burn off to Seattle and jump on a crew. It was really nice having that trade, and it brought me a sense of self-worth and a value, that by the time all of this was over with, I didn't think that it was anything really that special. I took about an 8-year hiatus from finishing and got into another, industry there for a while in Seattle and Colorado, and that didn't do great. And so when I finally came to the point to where I knew I needed some assistance and some help, I found myself in St. Louis. And St. Louis was an inner city ministry. I went up there to be with a friend of mine that I had lived across the street from in Minturn or Vail, Colorado. He lived in St. Louis. So I left Seattle to go to St. Louis to kick it with him. He ended up passing away on overdose. And I found myself in St. Louis, and I didn't know anybody. And I checked myself into rehab, and I went into intense treatment. And I found, a group of people who understood how to take someone who was broken and had given up on life and kind of fan that flame, and, in the inner city ministry, they didn't care, that I was a deadbeat dad or that I was a drug addict. They didn't care that, I had, a colorful past. They wanted to know who I was going to be today. And I also kind of say this too. It was like my weapons were useless there in the inner city. They could see it, they could see through any type of manipulation that I had usually used wherever I go. I didn't realize this till afterwards, but it was like they just looked right through me. So I had to be myself, and I ended up learning to like myself. And then these trades that I was taught, I found out that there was a large portion of America who have not been in any way influenced into a vocational craft or any type of trades, support. A lot of these, schools disenfranchised, in the 70s and 80s, and used to, you could graduate in St. Louis as a plumber or electrician helper or whatever, and there was nothing for them. And so I started donating my time to a ministry called Urban K Life, and they are a high school youth ministry. And I personally couldn't go into the high schools around there. I couldn't, but they could. So I could help them do that. And they had a 30,000 square foot facility. A lot of guys have been there that trained with me there in St. Louis. It used to be an old nursing home. And so every one of the life's lessons that I'd learned throughout, my 40 some odd years, I was able to show these young men, and how to, check the oil or put string on a weed eater or start a chainsaw, just all the things that
Life
we took for
lessons. Yeah.
granted. Yeah, they had no idea. You hand them an air chuck and they're like, how do you plug that in? And it's just like, I just felt, I feel like I could really just give so much that was good stuff. I was able to see the light bulb come on so many times. And every day I found that what I was really looking for while I was searching for, you know, to be comfortably numb, I was actually searching for that feeling of servitude. And I didn't know it, and when I found myself as at a place where I could serve and be effective, I mean, you talk about a high. That was the real McCoy,
That was it.
and
Yeah.
and so you couldn't have stopped me, for being around people who really appreciated what I had to offer. So it just, all of that, and I remember the Lord impressing on me that they wanted me on the team. It's so little self-value. And that's why I really love working with guys in recovery, because, you've never met an addict that didn't light the room up when they walked in it. Zach, I mean, a lot of creative, wonderful people just can't seem to, to gut it out long enough to, to make it
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. Something's happened and they just need some help getting through it. And unfortunately, they didn't get the help that was probably the most beneficial, but now, that's why they get into recovery, to get that help.
And I hope that, with my career and where I like to take it, I hope that, because the ones I want to help really can't afford to pay me to help them. So that's why we're starting the non-for-profit Fine Finish Institute, so that we can be able to give all of this information to people who really, appreciate it.
So if I remember right, you were up in St. Louis with K Life doing a lot of work, and you were one of the, I would say that was somewhere between 16 and 18.
Yep. Yeah. Really kicked off. Really kicked off beginning of 18 when I did that black table.
Yeah. You were one of the guys, I would say, that a lot of us wanting to get into the finer finishing stuff really kind of got into, because you were one of the few guys out there using the 2Ks, the industrial Italian wood coatings. And then when did because you went back down to Houston, because that's where you're at now. You were with Josso for a little bit, right? You were helping him.
Yeah. Also, well, when I began to, in the road to recovery, a lot of the milestone markers, and one of them was getting visitation back to my youngest two sons, which are now 18 and 16. And so in 2020, Lewis also was starting Elite Fine Finish. He had just left Surf Prep, and he had a brick and mortar store there in Humble. And he was like, man, I really could use you, to come help me get this thing started. And I'm like, well, I'm fixing to get visitation back, and I can't go from St. Louis to Houston. So it's, I'll relocate down there, and then we'll get this kicking, and then I'll be able to see my sons. I hated leaving St. Louis. It was real painful. Even just the folks missing Shigo, it was hard. But I wanted to be a part of my two. And plus, I have a 25-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old grandson, and then I have a 23-year-old son. So I have 4 children here, and so it was my best interest to move down here. And I came down and worked with Lewis for about 3 or 4 months, and then I just realized that it was up to me to build my dreams and to build what God had called me to do, and not just try to wait on everybody else to tell me which way to go. And so then I just started full force into the Fine Finish Institute, and I've really been working, to train, probably about 4 finishers a month privately. But there was about an 8-month period that I was really building the hot rod cars consignment.
Okay.
So I was, my other shop, they had a really amazing, setup, and I was overseeing a lot of these collectibles and really cool cars. But the lady that owned the place, she's not the kind of lady you want to get involved with in any way, form, or fashion. So I moved across the street, and now we're here in this spot, which is the best, the best I've ever had it. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, that's good that in your healing session, you got back to being good and got right back into the graces of God, but being able to notice that and say, okay, I can't get in with this girl. I gotta step back, because a lot of times that's hard to disconnect yourself from, to even one to see it, but then to recognize it and be like, all right, I gotta go.
And she was kind of like a mean meemaw, kind of like the crazy meemaw. So they're just to set that, she was a lady, but she was like a crazy meemaw lady. So it wasn't really hard to fit. But I just felt like that, I watched her struggling, spiritually, and I'd watch her and I'd be like, my Savior died so that she doesn't have to be tormented like this with hurt and trauma, and just really could tell some of the struggles she was going through. And so I'd see, breakthrough moments a lot, but finally I just had to, I had to just, shut the door on it.
So kind of tell us about Fine Finish now. Tell us about the facility, what you guys are doing with the training. You said nonprofit, so I'm assuming you're looking to get a 501c3.
Yeah, we are actually dealing with it, and I haven't told this really to anybody on the internet or anything like that. We're working with the attorney to get it set up right now, and it's going to be an online platform similar to what Chevron uses to teach their employees, and it's almost like a build your own adventure learning process. And we are going to be spending all of our time editing these lessons, including other professionals. And, hopefully what we can do is, build the stadium as a non-for-profit, and that way everybody can come as they are, and, build it so amazing and beautiful that we get plenty of support. But that it's not just all going into my pocket. I'm going to take a salary, and the rest of it is just going to go to building this stuff.
Building that content is no joke. Let me tell you, that is a constant. And the editing, uploading, the websites you have to host it. I mean, it's not cheap, but that also maybe gives you
No.
the funds to do some stuff on the I mean, like you said, for the guys that can't afford it. Some of these guys that are
Right.
coming out of recovery or coming out of halfway houses that need to learn to trade, because there's a lot of them out there.
And if they've done all their meetings and they've done everything for the week, they get the free mentoring, one-on-one or in a small group of people where we're actually really pouring into. And, we're working with people on the whole aspect. So even health and wellness, and everything that we do is faith-based, but it's not going to have any of that on the label. We're just gonna really try to make it all about love. But I think that there's the problem is a lot of this information, Zach, is already out there, and I tell people that you're not really paying for the information if you help us. You're paying for the platform, and the fact that it can be a seamless catalog of very easy to get to information. So if you're having problems, you can really go right to that. Let's say you have a finishing, company, and you have a new hire, and you want to get him up to date. You're seeing him get into it. You give him lessons once a week, even in the apprenticeship areas, learning what things are and the correct way to do different things that a lot of times we don't have time, to really sit back and just teach people because we're just going,
I mean, I preach it all the time. Like, this industry is, it's the only unlicensed skilled trade. I mean, it's considered an unskilled trade, but it's the only unlicensed trade. And it's probably one of the most important visually. I mean, that you don't go into a house and you don't see the pipes behind the wall.
It's all about the paint.
That's all. I mean, that's the first thing you see when you walk into a house. So like it's always been, my father-in-law mentored me, and he always said, there needs to be a certification, a journeyman, like a national journeyman program or a statewide journeyman program for the painters, because anybody can be chucking a truck.
Right, and that's what Lewis was really trying to help to get an industry accreditation. But the problem is that everybody's cutthroat. It's the people who run this industry are in it for money.
Well, and that's why I've always said you got to team with, you got to find a manufacturer. Like, I mean, their product is a product, but Fine Paints of Europe does the prime example of it. I think that model, like, you could take that and team up with a couple manufacturers, know their products inside and out, and you're the certified trainer. People come to Houston and you learn. I mean, I'm just any product, Jim's cabinet coating, you learn it inside and out. It doesn't matter, but that certification process is something that I think these manufacturers, and they're starting to adopt. They're slowly adopting, but they don't want to let that money go is the bigger problem. They don't want to let go of stuff.
But to be honest with you, like, let's just take Renner Italia, for instance. Shout out to any of the guys in upper management that are watching that, but their target business wasn't us. It wasn't the guys in the bucket and the truck and an HVLP. They wanted to go OEM. I mean, it took them just as much to tent my order as it did to tent the 50 gallons that were going to this, So that's been something that Lewis was really helping everybody understand, that we could help with the education side. The problem is it's such a liability, that nobody really wants to get involved because, well, Shane told me to do it this way and I did it this way and it didn't work. I mean, geographically, like, for instance, I taught somebody how to caulk panels at my shop with the MDF center panel and maple face frames. They go back and did an oak in Wyoming, and they caulked the panel in Wyoming with a different kind of thing. And then it became, well, Shane told me to caulk the panel. And I was like, well, I didn't quite. Yes, I did, but not like anyway. And that's when I was people would come to train with me, I would set my gun and my surf prep down, and I'd be like, okay, let's train for 2 days. And we train for 2 days, and I'm like, you got it? Got it. All right, see you later. Boom. And then I'd go back to spraying my customers' jobs, and they'd go. I didn't have any kind of curriculum. I didn't have like all of this stuff, that all the information that I was wrapping off. It wasn't down in a place where I could really give it to them so they could go over it again. So when it ended up happening is they just end up calling me for the next 4 weeks, asking me these questions again. So it was like they put a tap on my soul, Zach, and they would pay me, yeah, but for 2 days, but then for the next 3 months, and I love you. Don't stop calling me. I appreciate you calling me when people need help, but it, I needed to change that a little bit differently. So when we talk about what, you know, I just want to be able to, survive for the next couple of years. Financially, I have goals that I'm working on and different things. So it was really hard to stay afloat trying to run a refinishing business and running the Fine Finish Institute School of Finishing. So I have to choose one or the other. And I'll tell you, I much rather work with guys like yourself and different craftsmen that I've learned to love, from all over the world. It's so much more rewarding. But I like to go full time into that, and it's hard to do that because, well, let's just say surf prep they might hesitate to send a box of abrasives to someone who's going to get rich off of showing people the stuff that they already tell them on their YouTube page. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
Does that make sense?
it's something that I preach in this, and I was on the manufacturer side for 2.5 years, so I get it. I mean, we do R&D, and I mean, you were talking about coatings. We'd send it to every freaking corner of the U.S. and get back, 4 different answers on 12 different application types. I mean, everyone. It's just water base. I mean, I always say water base. Mother Nature's the ultimate equalizer. As soon as you think you got it down, she's going to slap you upside the head and tell you don't. I don't care how good you are, but
Yeah.
but it's the marketing, what is it, the understanding of marketing in our industry, I think is interesting. Like I noticed that from being on the manufacturer side. Like, why would we partner with? It's a lot about me, or me, the manufacturer, than it is about long term, what I like to call transformational relationships versus transactional. Our industry is very transactional. You give me X, I give you Y, and that's it. Like, trying to get our industry into more of the transformative, like, let's be partnerships. This is for the long term. Like, we're both trying to
Yes.
make each other better long term. We're all going to go up.
Yes.
Yes. And that's been an
Yes.
interesting, I will say I have seen a switch, probably I'd say in the last 9 to 12 months. I feel like the more information that you get out there, and that's kind of one of the goals of the podcast, is get that information out there and let people just absorb it in. And other manufacturers call me and say, hey, Zach, that guy you had on that was talking about an ERP, or that chemist that you just had on, I need to talk to him. Can you make an introduction, and make the introduction as, it's a relationship. Let's both get better.
Knowing who to ask what, that's huge. And we say all the time, I might not know the answer, but we know somebody who does. Let's put this. I love that. That's beautiful. The other thing too is, like, with the finishers, it's a real there's a lot, I don't want to say ego, but there's a lot of proud folks. And so so in other words, there might be, let's just say, Joe, Gray over here, um, that might not want to say, hey, go check out the Fine Finish Institute. He'll have all the questions answered. If that was just centered around, me in a bass boat. You know what I'm saying? So if it was just but if I can build that and it's for everyone, and then it's forever. It's forever there. And we're talking about having like animations, like for instance, when you're spraying the profile on a door with an HVLP, the air cushions in the corner, right? And when I'm trying to explain that to someone who's just learning to finish, having an animation where the air comes and then it brings a little force field and it spreads your paint, even the aerodynamics of how when you're spraying the sides, it just does. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I had a guy in Dallas that was working on some animation videos for me for water-based when it comes to mixing. You put your mixing tube down in your gallon and you want to create the vortex. And yeah, those animations are huge.
Yeah.
They really
You
help
have
people
somebody?
understand that. Yeah, I've got a guy in Dallas that does that.
Good. I need to get with him.
I'll get you with him. Yeah, he does great work. I mean, we did that mixed with because you're doing an educational video, so it was a mixture of the animation and 3D mixed with someone there talking. Like you would do have a 5-gallon bucket and you would put your deal down in there to mix it, and then it would take away half the bucket.
Yeah, cut through.
But you could still see the paint, but you could see that you weren't completely on the bottom, and then you could see the vortex, which was taking all the paint from the bottom and bringing it up and slamming it down, so it mixes those resins up. I mean, it people see that, and I saw people see that and be like,
yes,
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, check out this invention. So if I had some glasses where I could put them on, and I'm just saying glasses, it's just a way of looking at, and you have an oak door, everything that's below our target film thickness is red. Everything that's above the film thickness is yellow, and everything that is the film thickness is green. So when I put these glasses on, I can immediately see the red low, the green where it's supposed to be, and the yellow's high. So I sand the yellow down to green, but I have to build the red up to green or yellow before I even begin sanding it, or I'm just wasting my time. So those kind of animations.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Take it off of that. What's that? Who is it? Is it 3M that's got that whole 3D spraying deal? Have you tried that yet?
Yeah, I won when I was at IWF. I had the highest score, and when he saw that I was with Paulo, he changed it. I got it on video. I'll post it. Yeah, he was like, "Well, you got a 97. You beat the whole." I got this film. The guy from was filming it. I was doing live, and I was like, "Yeah, good." I was going to win the Fiji 97, and he goes, "Apollo, ah." And when I came back, I was a 92, and Idaho Painter was a 94.
But he's Apollo too.
Yeah, but he's whoever he wants to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Whoever. Next subject.
Oh man,
he's great guy. I got to train with him in San Jose, 2019, and I just watched. At first, I thought, man, here's a hero. And then when I saw how he dealt with surf prep and how much money was involved with what he did, I moved on. So, and that's been a great thing about me, is I believe that if we build this truly to help the craftsman, without a doubt, that once it's built, I'll be able to step off to the next stage in my career, and this will be something that will be there forever, and it's going to be free. It's going to be for the people.
That's awesome. Well, so let's do a little bit of maybe social media. You used to do quite a bit of videos, and your videos, you haven't done videos in a while. Is there a reason that you've kind of stepped back, or just busyness, or what?
Well, I don't know if you're. I do most of my videos in my private group, the School of Finishing. And if you're not in that group, I apologize.
Oh no, that's all right. I mean, I haven't been in the actual finishing world in 3-4 years. So I get it, but that makes sense. If you're focusing on your content over there to the guys that are in the private group, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then I just kind of, on the regular stuff, just when I left St. Louis, I kind of felt like, I had lost a lot of my, you know, what I was showcasing and what I was really, the story that was unfolding in a community, where each of the players and the, people were, you know, uh, being a part of that. When I got here, it was kind of a little less about, I didn't just want to do videos about myself. So that's really reason why I stopped doing a lot of videos, is because I didn't have good content to do that on a personal level.
So are you still doing the refinishing stuff, or are you strictly on the school now?
Yeah, no, I'll show you. We do 4 jobs a month, and then up to 4 trainings a month. So we've got there's Cameron. Yeah. We're refinishing doors and then training as well. So we're doing a mixture of both. Hopefully, what I'll be able to do is just every job that we get that's refinishing will just be for content, and so I'll be able to do instructional videos on every step of the way, and just focus on maybe one job a month, and then but it takes a lot to get this started. I mean, we got a lot going in, but I'm so excited, man. I mean, if you could, it's got to be something spectacular, or else it's just going to be another thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you want it to be big. Are you still doing on-site, or is it all shop finishing now?
I do on-site stuff as well. We just finished a big one down in Galveston. I do all my doors here at the studio, and I do a lot of furniture pieces as well with Malaysia and a lot of metallics and stuff like that. A lot of high gloss stuff I've been doing lately. It's a lot of fun.
I was going to ask you what your go-to now, right now. I think I just saw some Renner in there, so still using Renner, and then Malaysia for some of the special effects.
A lot of solvent, that if I'm doing high gloss. I love Malaysia. They're water-based 2K, one of my favorites. Renner, I can just get the primer here locally. I mean, I can get it all locally, but I just had a whole bunch of Renner stuff left over, so I haven't made the transition. But my next where I'm going is with the iCrow coatings. Very excited.
I said Scott and Stephanie are amazing. I love those two. I've known them for a long time.
The Hearts, yeah, they're good people. Yeah, and I can't wait to. And then even the New England coating, Jim and them guys. I love all those guys. I love what they stand for. But I work with DC Clark out of Pittsburgh, and it's just super easy, to get things. You got give yourself a week or so, lead time to get the materials. But I just keep a lot of Isolante stocked because he now sells a white 2K isolator, which is what I start all of my refinishing projects with.
The Malaysia white 2K ISO, right?
It's actually relabeled from Acessa, but it's an ICA original label from ICA. Yeah, but that's Malaysia has the solvent 2K Isolante, but this one is a water-based 2K, and it's white, so you can kind of see what you've done after you put the first coat on. Where before we'd put the clear and you couldn't really see it, so you'd have to put one coat of primer before you could really get down and started doing stuff.
Yeah, I used to use the solvent to ISO from Circa, and I used to dump a little bit of white in there just so you could see what the heck you were doing.
People don't realize what an isolator, what a sealer, surfacer, what that does. People don't really understand that unless they've seen it. And with an automotive background, you wouldn't think about doing a paint on a car without using a sealer of that to start with. So how did you get turned into using isolators?
Man, let me think. When I started getting into 2K, the only thing I could get my hands on was Circa. Uh, and then shout out to Gemini guys. Sorry, I'm going to say this, but first gen of Evo had, well, I think it was the remix of the first gen of Evo.
Hydro Pure.
Well, they had Evo, and then they have the H Pure, and now they've got, they were having two of them they had made here in the U.S. And now they're bringing in the resin from Circa. They've partnered with Circa for the new Evo. So the new Evo is made, I think Gemini makes it, but I don't know where they're having the L1 made. But anyways, in one of the transitions of the Evo, there was something happened, and it ruined like a $20,000 kitchen that I had. It was a mess, and we still to this day they cannot tell me what happened with this version of Evo. No one knows. I mean, I was on the phone with every chemist. They would come out to the job site. Mike Green would come to my shop. I mean, we tried so many, and I never charged them. I'm like, doors, let's try this. They said, all right, try this. And I just kept trying it. And it just kept rejecting. Doesn't matter what I put in it to use their primer. It didn't matter. It just kept fish-eyeing and rejecting every time. Brand new gun. Probably for a week, we messed with this project. And finally, they just chalked it up and said, man, we don't know what's going on, but, we'll cut you a check and try to help you out. And then that pushed me out of Evo into Circa. And then I just all full colorants, computer, brought in all their stuff and just dove deep. I just ordered pallets of it from a local paint store, tinted everything myself, started playing with the metallics, the ISOs, the clear isolating sealer that they had. I mean, I went all in, and that was it for me. And it was all solvent. And ever since I did that, I don't think I've sprayed another pre-cat or a CV. And I love water-based. I love water-based coatings. Don't get me wrong. They're great. But solvent 2K, that's my baby. I love solvent 2K.
Oh yeah. I like to use it on my furniture pieces because I get it out of my system, but I don't have to worry about smelling it a whole lot. I get to kind of,
And that was the thing. I love Circa solvent. Their Circa 2K, their solvent, their specialty, their acrylics are great. I was not a big fan of their water base, but everybody's not going to do everything perfect.
right.
They were killer on the solvent. I just wasn't a big fan. A 45-minute pot life water base, and I know you messed with a little bit of that Circa water base. Like,
I skipped right over it, man. I did. I didn't get a chance to. I went straight from the Evo to the Malaysia, and then never went back once I started that Italian stuff.
I hear Malaysia's getting ready to come out with some new stuff. My guys that I talk to at Malaysia quite a bit say they're getting ready to come out with some pretty awesome stuff. They won't tell me what it is.
Yeah, they've got it's a blockchain. It's a isocyanate free 2K. That's blockchain.
It's in their blockchain edition line. Well, I've heard there's something in the 1K world that they're coming out with. I haven't really, they've got a lot of internal stuff going on right now.
Right. Well, I always say that the cheapest thing I ever did to make more money as a finisher was use the most expensive coating I could find. And I say that all the time, because you get a lot of guys in this group that's like, man, $89 for a gallon of, and I mean, when I push this, like the 643 from Renner, and I hammer it to do something amazing, I turn around and I'm like, there's a reason that I pay $100 a gallon for this product. Because I mean, when I need it to, to really work, it works good.
But it helps too, coming from, and I used some automotive coatings before I got into the industrial 2K wood stuff. I mean, when you come from a world of automotive coatings on the premium end, especially in the hot rods, I mean, I did a crazy 8 foot round table with a BASF clear that was like $480 a gallon. You know, when you're going to pay $500 a gallon, and you're like 100. Oh, come on, I'll take a couple of those in case I mess up. So, like, coming from the automotive world, I think that transition, there's a little different technique in spraying. I will give that. I prefer the automotive style, but the products, when you're used to spending the money on that automotive finishes, the transition over into water base or even wood coatings is not that. You're kind of like, oh, these aren't that expensive. When you guys, but when you're used to paying $19 a gallon for, a high build white lacquer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then cut it in half with lacquer thinner just to get it to play nice.
Exactly.
And like spraying the automotive, we went from the higher pressure to less material to try to get it to atomize, as nice as possible, to lowering our air down with these turbines and actually just allowing that water-based coating, putting it on thick enough that it flows out, but not too fast that it traps the air. So it was, when you were saying, it's a little bit different. It's really hard to get people that's been spraying pre-cat lacquers with an airless to come over and shoot these water-based coatings with the HPLP, especially with the pressure pot, because with the pre-cat, you fire for effect, and when it looks good, you're done, and that's it. But with these water-based coatings, it's like throwing a football way in front of somebody before they get there. And, you just keep hammering it until it looks like a shiny orange, and then it's good. And people, when I first, show them, they're like, that's not, and you just have to leave it alone for 5 minutes and don't look at it.
I used to tell guys all the time when they'd call me and be like, yeah, I can't get that glass off the gun. I'm like, if you get that glass off the gun, you're in trouble, bro. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're gonna have fat edges. It's gonna be everywhere. I want it looking like an orange, like a really light dimpled orange off the gun, and then wait 3 to 5 minutes.
Shiny orange. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So, are you taking any jobs right now? And you got
No, I'm not. I'm not doing any finishing now. Now I'm just doing. So I have a consulting and coaching side to my business now. So I coach contractors, painting contractors that are wanting to scale their business, that are wanting to get a better understanding of how to operate a business. Then we mix in some skills with that. But most painters know what they're doing. The skill from painting walls, going to cabinets, not that. I mean, where there's a big need is the business side and what to do to scale a business, to get out of working in the business and work on the business. And then I do some consulting for some manufacturers that are want to get into distribution, or wanting to streamline some stuff, figure out how they can get the product out there a little better, and just enjoying life, man. I live in a Class A motorhome in Waco, Texas.
I fished with the guy from Waco yesterday. His
Yeah,
name was Marcus. Yeah, and they rented an Airbnb or day before yesterday, where I went and caught that redfish. He was fishing next to me, and he was from Waco. He teaches ROTC at the high school there.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know him? No, I'm just joking. Marcus, Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. My wife works for a government contractor. We moved out here in December with her job. She got a promotion down here, so we're here for, I think, maybe another year. I'm not really sure, but we live in a big bus motorhome with my 7-year-old and my 3-year-old, and I mean, just on a whim, I think Friday we just, hey, the kids don't have school Monday. Let's you know slides in on the bus and drove down to Hill Country for the weekend.
Love it. Let's go to Bandera. Where'd you go?
We went to Fredericksburg. My wife loves Fredericksburg.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My son lives in Georgetown.
Okay, yeah. We go to Georgetown. That's my wife says that's her favorite place because it's about a 40-minute drive and there's a Costco.
Well, I'll be doing the International Woodworking Festival there in Austin, November 9th
Oh, are you coming? Yeah,
and 10th. I think.
I'm gonna be set up. I'm gonna be set up and doing some recordings at the show.
Yeah, we'll have a booth there.
Oh, that's awesome. I just had Austin on the podcast, man, last week. His podcast is coming out Monday. So
Austin.
yeah, the director, Austin Waldo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's cool, dude.
Yeah, cool guy. He came on the podcast, and yeah, I'm gonna come down there and hang out and do some recordings, and then also probably Hannah and Chad been beating me up, telling me I need to come down there. So I'm like, all right, I'll come down there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to do dinner for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure, man. Well, what about? I know we're getting in there, and you got stuff to do, but I always like to ask the guys that have been around this world for a while, advice to guys that are out there. I mean, you do it with Fine Finishing Institute. What are 1 to 2 pieces of advice that you would give someone that's wanting to get into the finishing world, and any resources, of course, Fine Finishing Institute, that they can use and can maybe find?
The first thing that I wish I could have taught myself at a young age was that the money isn't mine. And I know that really didn't have a lot to do with the craft side of things. But, if we could disconnect that what's in our bank account from what's available to us and just really using that money as a tool instead of it influencing, how secure we feel. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I preach money as a tool. If you change your mindset to money as a tool and not something you have to have a lot of, it's a tool to get what you want. It definitely changes the outlook on things.
Well, I might get you to help me unscramble all this mess that's up in here too. So, the second thing I would teach myself is that the pain is good. That comfort is the biggest drug, and that pain is good. But as far as a finisher's concerned, cleaning is the most important part. You should clean at least 3 times, and it's you spray for show, but you sand for dough.
Yeah, there you go.
And everybody's ready to get the machine out and put the paint or put the coating, put the top coat on. But to really, consider victory being the prep work. Then a lot of times I'll tell people, hey, don't send me after pictures of your kitchen. Send me an after picture of your gun. Send me an after picture of your truck, of your shop. Let me see how much you've got it together, because every shelf is teetering, and every gun is full of materials and stuff. Yeah, so it's cool. We could just somehow make him prep cool again. It's cool to be clean. It's cool to prep. And the last of your question was what resources. Try to find somebody if you're trying to get high end finish work. Find somebody close as you can that sells an industrial wood coating, hopefully from Italy, and let them help you grow your business. Find something that works and stick with it. I got guys every other week are using a new product. And it's like, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When you were talking in the beginning about all these things like Mother Nature and stuff like that, if we can teach guys to control the variables and learning what variable will really make your or break you, we can. And when they call me and they ask me, hey, what, I sprayed this last, and it worked great. It didn't work this well. What's changed? What variable is different? Well, are you running a heater? Yeah, I'm running my heater because it was cold. There you go. You dried the air out. Check the humidity. I mean, tons of little things like that. But and I really think that if you want to jump to the front of the pack, look into having some training. Look into having some hands-on one-on-one training. And look, I love those big old groups of 10, 15 people, but you're not going to get any personalized training in those things. Those are great networking, and it's kind of like arts and crafts at rehab. You just don't get a lot done, So it's like, oh, next, oh, now slow down a little bit. Okay, next, yeah, oh, great job, next. And a lot of guys aren't going there to really hone in their body mechanics and their idea of different ways. But hands-on one-on-one training it really helps. Really helps.
So before we wrap up, if you've listened to any of the episodes, towards the end, one of my favorite questions is I always like to let people, I want the community to know the guest. Story was awesome, but I always like to say, let the community know what Shane is outside of Fine Finish Institute. So what's something that might surprise the community about you, whether it be a hobby or I like to do this, but I don't tell anybody,
My idea of success is to be able to provide my family with clean food and water. So I've lost over 100 pounds just working on gut bio. I had parasites and mucoid plaque and candida. I had a lot of gut issues that the medical industry didn't want to touch. They were treating my serotonin levels by giving me an uptake inhibitor and slowing down the plasticity instead of increasing my microbiome where 90% of your serotonin and dopamine is made. So at the time when I got through 2016, when I came back into finishing, and I couldn't go to the gym. There's no way. I was 250 pounds. I was on disability for my back, lots of problems, but I could work on my gut bio. I could do these gut resets and stuff like that. And so I did, and that was the best thing that I ever did. I got on some really high quality supplements, and can help people, find some good quality supplements, no snake oils, and then really found how to find true happiness. Like where I used to have anxiety. Just you could tell where it was. Now I've got joy radiating from the same place, and it's so much easier to help people when you feel good.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good. Good advice. I love that. What about? Oh yeah. Before we close up, socials. Shoot out your group, your private group, and your socials so people can go check you out and maybe get in that group that you've got.
Awesome. It's the Fine Finish. It's Fine Finish Institute School of Finishing, and that's on Facebook. Also, we got our Instagram hacked, so we started over FFI Deer Park. That's Instagram Fine Finish Institute Deer Park, and then of course me. My name is Michael Shane Woods on Facebook. It had to be the same as my driver's license to get the blue check. So Michael Shane Woods, if you want to just kind of follow along the personal and the ministry side, the family recovery side, trying to keep those separate. So also clean water. I drink triple filtered, electrically reduced Kangen 9.5 alkaline water. So I have a machine that's a Japanese medical instrument that actually shocks the water and changes the shape of it. And it's hydrogen rich water. So it's very
very high in pH. Yeah.
Yeah, twice that of blueberries. So I'm actually just drinking water and getting healthier. So I'm really passionate about that. The name of that is going to be the Healthy Oasis. Once we get things running, the Healthy Oasis is going to be where you can come and begin to start building the good guys, promoting the good bacteria.
Nice. I'll have to give that a follow for sure. All right, man. Well, Shane, I know we're getting in on that. I know you got stuff to do, man. I greatly appreciate you coming on. Insight, it was amazing. I mean, your story is one that I think everyone should hear. You know, what you've overcome to be where you're at is just absolutely incredible.
Thank you, brother.
Other than that, man, any last bit of advice for the guys out there?
No, sir. The group, the Healthy Craftsmen, that's where I do a lot of this health stuff. The Healthy Craftsmen. Yeah, that's a Facebook group.
I'll have you shoot me those links and I'll stick them down in the notes too so people can click on them.
Definitely. Thank you, Brother Zach.
I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody listening in. Remember, every Monday we got the episodes coming out. Make sure you subscribe and on anywhere you get your YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast, and follow us on YouTube and watch the videos. Everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next Monday.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.